Yo, what's the dealio, man? Listen, you already know I got a straight banger for you today. All right, so in this video, we got another lessons on the charts that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the power of patience, right? And understanding, what do I always say? The more you study, the less you worry. So I want to show you guys the in-person, live and direct version of that, okay? Now, how we're gonna do this is, I'm gonna take you to two trades that I took today, and everybody inside of the Discord took with me as well, right? So this is no fabrication, this is no lie, this is all factual and it's all documented, okay? So I'm gonna go through a trade on IWM we took. I banked 22%. And then also, I'm gonna take you to the next trade, which was Google that we took. And I personally banked 15% on that trade, okay? And in each of these trades, I was down about 25 to 30%. And this is also why I always say I stopped using stop losses as well, right? The reason why I stopped using stop losses is because if I had a stop loss of, let's just say 20%, a lot of people's stop loss be 10 or maybe 15%. What happens? You get stopped out and then it goes in your direction. So you took an unnecessary risk, right? So this year, I would go through my losses and I would ask myself, how many trades went in my direction after I either took myself out of the trade or my stop loss triggered, right? And what I saw was, majority of the time, I'm talking 85% of the time, the stock ended up going in my direction after I took a loss. So what does that mean? That means that the stock market and the algorithm makers, they know what the thresholds are, okay? They know how to make these stocks hover around certain areas for a certain amount of time, make people feel the pain, get out, and then it'll go in a direction, right? So in order to be able to do this, you have to learn how to have a very, very, very deep sense of trust within yourself and also what you see on the charts. I always tell myself, trust the technicals, trust the technicals, trust the technicals. I know that the market be manipulated and stuff, but you got to trust yourself and you got to trust the technicals, okay? These are very critical in order to be able to get to that next level of profitability. Because it's one thing to know, okay, I get in a trade, I'm up 10%, I take it. It's another thing to be down 30%, up 20%, down 18 to 20% again, right? And then be up 40, 50%. Right? That's a different level. That's a different psychology right there. Okay? So, I also want to say none of this in this video is financial advice. Okay? Be sure to talk to a licensed financial advisor if that's what you want to do. All I'm doing is sharing my experience with all of this. Okay? So, like this video as well and share this with somebody. We're going to go to the charts now, and these charts I'm going to show you guys and walk you through both of the trades so that you guys can see and understand how to really manage these trades and make money, because I could have lost thousands of dollars today if I would have took my 25 to 30% loss unrealized inside of the trade. But because the stock was holding the structure, I stayed in and it ended up working out. Okay? So we're going to go to the charts. And let's get busy, all right? Okay, so right here. All right, boom. So right here, we got, this is Robinhood. So first trade, okay? First trade, we got IWM. Let's go down to the 15-minute time frame, all right? So here's what happened on IWM. Now, you see I got my entry and my exit mapped out, but this is on the 15-minute real quick. So, first 15-minute candle, this is the candle we get, a 3-bar, right? A bullish 3-bar. So we went up, and when did I take entry? I took entry on this trade right here. Okay. Now, I was trying to get ahead of the move slightly. Okay. And that's my fault. I always say stay off the 5 minute time frame, the 1 minute time frame, right? And I mean that. I tried to get into this trade off the 3 minute time frame because I saw something and I was okay with the risk. Okay, so let me break this down for you. So we come up. Okay. Now, first things first, we need to understand the spacing of the charts. This right here is a level, right? This is where we closed at yesterday at 232.62, right? So we came up and we closed the gap, right? So we came up and we closed the gap. So now I see, okay, we got a failed 2 up right here. Now we're starting to reject around this area right here after we filled this gap to the upside, right? Because we gapped down today on IWM. So I was like, all right, cool. And then what happened? I saw a bearish 3 bar on the 3 minute time frame. So I thought that this was the start of the downtrend, and we were going to start selling off and do exactly what we ended up doing right here. Okay, so I saw a bearish 3 bar on the 3 minute time frame. Once I saw this bearish 3 bar on the 3 minute time frame and this new candle opened, I took entry right there, right? So I'm gonna zoom in real quick. I took entry right here. Okay, it came down and it came up a little bit. I let it come up here, came down, and I got filled. So I took entry right here, right? Then it came down. So then what happened, right? I actually took entry a little bit lower, like right here. But then what happened? It came down. I was up 5%, 10%, like 8%, whatever. And then what happened? We had this candle right here, whoosh, right? But it came up to the high of days, but it did not get above the high of day, right? So what we're going to do is right here, I want you guys to really understand this. This is high of day. Okay. High of day. So we had this high of day. We rejected. Boom. Came down. Entered in right here. Next candle came all the way up. And what did I say? If you guys was listening inside the Discord, I said, this is a rational move. This doesn't make sense. Right? At this point, I'm down 29%. Okay? But it did not come above the high of day, right? It did not come above the high of day. It stayed below it. This is what I'm talking about when I say the more you study, the less you worry. So now came down, and this red line is my 200 EMA as well. I know it's on the 3 minute, but it matters. So it came down and then it came back up again, but it closed and it rejected at a higher level, right? Right here. So right here, we were still like 2%, 3%, 5% profit. I'm not going to take that because I know that I'm trusting what I'm seeing. This candle come up, then now we back down 18, 20%, right? Most people would have been like, man, I should have took that profit of 5%. I didn't even say that. Because I'm trusting what I see. I cannot live in shoulda, coulda, woulda land, right? So this candle happens, and this is a 1 bar, right? So I know that, okay, if we break above here, then we definitely, I probably need to get out because we're going to come back up here. If we break below here, we good because this is a consolidation candle, right? And then look at the next candle. Boom, it drops, okay? And then it came down some more. And I got out right over here, right? On this candle, not this candle, but I got out on this candle right here. Okay. Now it took a lot longer, but now let's go to a bigger time frame. Let's go to the 10 minute time frame, right? If we go to the 10 minute time frame for today, you can see that all it was a 3-1-2 bearish reversal, a 3 bar, a 1 candle, boom. But I got in on a smaller time frame because I was being a little bit more granular and I got ahead of the move. I could have just waited on the 10-minute, waited for it to break right here, take entry, and then get right here, right? And then let it come down some more. But I got in a little bit early. That's what I mean when I say the bigger time frames are going to give you the direction, the smaller time frames are going to give you the precision. Okay? So this trade was about maybe 10, 15 minutes. I'll say about 10 minutes, and 22% we banked on it. All right? I could have got scared out of this trade, right? I could have, but I didn't, because I stopped using stop losses and I stopped being scary and I started trusting myself more, right? And I know what I've been studying, so there's no need for me to worry, right? So that's the first trade. That one took patience. Okay? Now we're going to go to the next trade. This next trade was about 30 minutes. And most of the time, I was down over 20%. Okay? So we're going to go there. We're going to go on that chart. And I'm going to show you guys that one. All right? And what is this? This is Google. Okay? Now, Google been having some good news because of Warren Buffett. So but they were on a failed 2-up, and I'll go through that in a second. But Warren Buffett said that he got his position inside of Google. So I was a little weary of them going up, and they did gap up, but they ended up coming down. But at the end of the day, I once again said I'm going to trust my technicals that I see. That's what I want you to understand. Trust yourself and trust your technicals. Okay? So what happens with Google? Let's go. So now we go on Google, right? So we got Google right here. Okay. All right. So now let's go to, it's the 30-minute time frame. So let's go to the daily time frame first on Google. So with Google, we have a gravestone doji and we have a failed 2-up right here, right? So I know that this tells me that the stock should be coming down, right? As long as we break the low of the previous candle, you take entry and you ride puts to the downside, right? So I was in IWM when it broke this level right here, okay? So now let's go to the 30-minute real quick. And as you can see, first 30 minutes of the market comes down, failed 2 down. And then look what happened. It came down a little lower. Now, why did it come down a little lower? I'm going to show you guys, right? The reason why it came down a little lower is because we had a gap. From Friday to Monday, we gapped up. So we had a gap to fill. We had a gap to fill to the downside from here to here. Okay? Boom. So this is the gap. All right? So now we can see. So I took this setup off of the 2-hour and the 6-hour time frame. So look, we got the 2-hour time frame, right? On a 2-hour time frame, it closed at 7 a.m. on the West Coast, and we had a bearish 3-bar. Okay, so we had a bearish 3-bar, and I knew that we had to come down. We had to come down to fill this gap down here, right? So because I knew that and I saw a bearish 3-bar, I waited until this candle right here came down and it broke below this so it could trigger, right? So right here, I was looking at a 3-2, right? A 3-2 down setup so that we could come down and fill this gap, right? Okay, so where was the gap fill? The gap fill was all the way down to 277. So I got the 275 strike price when the stock was at 279, 280, right? So then what happened? So now that we understand where this gap is at right here, once the 2-hour closed on this 3-bar, I took entry. I let it come up a little bit. Then I took entry, right? So I took entry right here and I was anticipating it to come down, right? So now look what happened. What happened was, so this is the first 30-minute candle. So after that first 30-minute candle, I let it come up and I took entry. So I got in about right here, right? Like 280.50, 280.60. So I took entry right here. It came down a little bit and then it came up and then it came down. And then what happened? Came all the way up here, right? Came all the way up here. So at this point, when it came all the way up here, I was down 32%. Okay, P&L. I was down 32%. Right? But what was it doing? Let's take the gap, the box off. Okay, what was it doing? So we had, if you come down to the 15-minute, what did it do? It came and it tested the bottom of the orb level, right? It tested the bottom of the orb level right here, and then it rejected. So even though this was a two-up candle, a green bullish candle, sellers were here because they knew that a gap had to be filled to the downside. So it came down. Now I'm only down 18%, right? And then as we see on the 15-minute, we got another candle right here. Now we sitting at about break even. Then we come down here. All right, cool. And then it came right down here, right? And we took entry. I mean, we took exit. And I got 15% profit on that one, right? This is how we did it today. And this is how I traded today, right? Patience is a great asset when you understand how to use it and when to implement it, right? I was down 32% all the way up here, but I knew that we had a gap to fill to the downside. And I also knew that yesterday we were on a failed two up on the daily time frame, okay? When you got a failed two up on the daily and you got a gap to fill to the downside, even if a stock is coming up and the gap has not been filled, it's a high likelihood that that stock is going to fill that gap, right? So when you are trading, you got to understand all of these things. This is why I always say the more you study, the less you worry. This is not just a saying. This is a way of life. It's a way of understanding. It's a way of living, all right? If you are not profitable, you got to learn how to read market structure. You got to learn how to read price action, right? And you got to learn how to execute and demonstrate your patience, right? And you also need to learn when to cut trades. But today for me was not a time to cut these trades, and we came out victorious, all right? Was I in these trades longer than I would have liked to? Absolutely. I'm usually 2 to 5 minutes scalping 30, 50%, right? But these trades took a lot longer, but because I understand what I was looking at, I was able to end the day profitable. Everybody in the Discord ate as well. Okay? So if you want to trade with us, come join the Prosperity Collective. Click the link in the description and come join with us so that we can help you get more profitable. All right? So I hope that this video helped you guys out. And I hope that it clarifies some things for you. And I also hope that you learned a lot from it. All right. So like I always say, make sure you get up out your head and go get into this world, because your head is a dangerous place to live. All right. And also remember, y'all, the more you study, the less you worry. All right. I appreciate y'all tapping in, man. I'm going to see you guys later on live tonight. All right. You all stay smooth, man. Peace.